You won't like him when he's Ang Lee. Hello my fellow YouTubers and subscribers, and welcome to this latest movie rant, where today I talk about Hulk, directed by Ang Lee, released in 2003. Let's get this over with. So, the plot of Hulk is as follows. Bruce Banner, a genetics researcher with a tragic past, suffers an accident that causes him to transform into a raging green monster when he gets angry. There you go, that's the plot of Hulk. Okay, so Hulk, the, I won't say acclaimed Ang Lee movie, the well-known Ang Lee movie, which no one likes, or very few people like, and it won't surprise you to know that I am one of those people. Yes, I hate this movie. Okay, look, there are some moderately good things in here, but very few things are good in this movie. Hulk is an absolute dull, boring film. This is a terrible film. Honestly, this film sucks. I want to stress that Ang Lee is a great director, and I do think that he is a very artistic director with someone who can wonderfully craft a film. He has great dramatic storytelling abilities, and he knows how to craft a movie. Of course he does. I'm not blaming Ang Lee for this disaster. The trouble is, Ang Lee was not the right person to direct this film. Just look at this damn thing! Ang Lee was not the right person to direct this film. This film, the worst thing that I can say about it is the editing. The editing of this film sucks! The editing is just so infuriating. Every 2 minutes there's like 2 different shots on screen. It's like a comic book! Why on earth Ang Lee chose to do this, I don't know. It's an artistic decision, yes, but it's an artistic decision that doesn't work. It makes the film look really stupid and sloppy. If you were to do it like once or twice, you could kind of get away with that, but half the film is literally like, there's a shot here, there's a shot here, there's a shot here. If you look at my screen right now, you can see that there are, next to me, 2 other shots of me. That's just a simple demonstration of what this movie does. And the scene transitions in this film are just god-awful. It's not right for this film. It's just totally not right, because this is a movie about a green guy that's smashing things, or well, it's supposed to be anyway. This film comes across as way too artsy, way too pretentious for its own good. It's why Ang Lee was the wrong choice for this film. There are scene transitions, there's so many crossfades, there's so many shots in the same frame. You know, how am I supposed to focus on one or the other when you try and edit it like a comic book? There is a moment in this film where Talbot walks through the door, and then we see the reactions of Jennifer Connelly and Eric Bana when he leaves the room. It's like, well, which one am I supposed to focus on, Ang Lee? The CGI, oh my god, it's not aged very well. This film came out in 2003, right? This was the same year as Return of the King. Return of the fucking King. And you could only do this CGI. Literally, the Hulk in this film looks terrible. He looks like Shrek on steroids. Some of the wider shots of Hulk look okay. They look bearable, like in the action sequences. The things that look fake are the close-up shots. When he's trying to emote, so to speak, this big green monster is like, he's either looking at the grass or looking at someone, or he's looking at Jennifer Connelly, or he's looking at his father, and he's trying to act, and he's trying to react. And that's where it looks really fake. It's just terrible. I think the worst where it looks is the moment when Talbot is about to inject him, or trying to take some of his enzyme samples. But, oh god, it's just so cartoonish, it's so bad. Not to mention that this film is a fucking drag to sit through. Literally, this film is nearly 2 hours 20 minutes long, and it fucking feels it. Oh my god, it's just so slow. This film is way too slow for its own good. Now don't get me wrong, I appreciate what Ang Lee was trying to do. You can see he was trying to focus on the story and the characters. He didn't want it to just be a film about a green guy smashing things. You know, you've got to have some some backstory. You've got to have some context to the whole thing. And I appreciate Ang Lee's efforts to try and tell this story. There are a lot of good dramatic scenes in this film, but there's no payoff because the movie doesn't resolve itself. I like the opening sequence where we see Bruce Banner's birth and what, you know, essentially what happens with his parents, shall we say. And we see his father basically testing out his formula or whatever on him and his own son. Because he tested something on himself, he genetically passed the condition down to his son. I did find the science stuff kind of interesting to a point. As I said, the film is just, it's just an absolute drag, and I find it really hard to stay interested in this film. Don't get me wrong, I really like the characters and I really like the story. There is a great story behind the Hulk, and I like the fact that they're going at this from an emotional point of view. And Eric Bana is actually decent in the movie. I'll give him credit. He's okay. You know, I won't say it's an out-of-this-world performance, but he does all right. In some of the more emotional scenes, it did surprise me how well he handled them, to be fair. Like, especially in the climax of the movie when he's confronting his father about the death of his mother. That was very well done. It's some of the more quieter scenes where Eric Bana's a bit stiff. There's that scene when he's talking about a dream or a nightmare that he's had with Betty, and then he's going... It's just a little bit cringy, really. To be honest, I think Jennifer Connelly is kind of a pointless choice. I mean, she has no charisma in this film, and her and Eric Bana have literally no chemistry on screen. She's meant to be in love with this guy. Again, there are some fleeting, like, emotional moments where she does do rather well, but it's the quieter scenes where, like Eric Bana, she just fails because she's just talking in a very monotone voice, and I don't really understand what she's doing or saying. I mean, let's face it, she's there to look pretty and she does her job very well. I think the relationships with the characters are okay. I mean, they mainly focus on Bruce Banner and his father, which is fine. With Betty and her father, it's very rarely explored. Like, surely she should be a bit more angry with her father. The fact that he literally took the man that she loved and imprisoned him out in a far military base, but no, she doesn't seem to give a shit. She just forgives her dad like that. This film is way too long for me. I think the film could have been trimmed down at least by 20 minutes. Hulk is undoubtedly 20 minutes too long, and I have to be frank here because as much as I admire Ang Lee's efforts to try and tell the story from a dramatic point of view, this film is a fucking snail. It's really hard to sit through, and it's not an easy watch. I think it really needed some trimming. This film also could do with a lot more action scenes. I think the action in the film that we got is terrible. Ang Lee is not a great action director. Let's just put it there. Which is why it is a really bizarre choice. Like, I don't know why they asked him to direct this film, because this is not his forte. He's an artistic director. You know, he's editing and cutting this film in like in a very pretentious kind of art house kind of fashion. And that's not what the Hulk is or should be. By a certain point, you just want the Hulk to just get up and start smashing things because you're so sick of the boring, talky scenes where the characters just don't engage you. Josh Lucas also plays this character called Glenn Talbot, who is this kind of asshole prick who interferes with Bruce's work and also with the military. And he tries to extract some of his like enzymes. I don't know why. He wants it for some scientific experiment or something. His death, though, is absolutely ridiculous. Talbot's death is awful. It is a cartoonish mess. When they just suddenly freeze him, like when he's in the air. The explosion that happens after the Hulk breaks free out of the military base. He goes, ah! And then literally the camera pulls back, moves down and zooms into another frame. And then you've got like this row of frames. It's like, again, they're treating this like a comic book, and it is terrible. It is a terrible artistic choice. I'm sorry, Ang Lee. It just doesn't work. Well, the direction by Ang Lee. See, I'm very torn about this. I don't think Ang Lee's direction of the film is terrible. I don't think it's terrible. I won't give him crap for it. Again, he's the wrong choice. The thing is, it's just, you know, telling this sort of story about a guy who turns into a green monster, it comes across as overly pretentious. Like you're almost trying too hard to be dramatic. You're trying too hard to be emotional. And there are certain dream sequences in this film which are really out of place and make no sense. There's like a dream sequence where Betty is telling Bruce about a nightmare she's had when she was she's a kid and her father leaves her in this diner, and then Bruce comes in and tries to like strangle her. What? It has no reference to the story whatsoever. Like, why was this scene in the movie? It had no reference to the plot whatsoever. It had no reference to Betty's character. It had no reference to her dad. It had no reference to Bruce. It just is such a really weird scene. I don't get it. It's so out of place. It really is out of place. There's also another dream sequence where Bruce Banner is it's like the Hulk is falling. He's in midair and he's falling after he gets knocked off the fighter plane. He's almost like having a dream sequence about him. He's shaving and then he sees the Hulk in the mirror. I mean, that was quite good on a visual level, but he says puny human and then he punches through the mirror and then it's like it goes back to normal. What the hell? It makes no sense. Like, I don't understand what that scene was trying to symbolise. I don't get it. I thought it was completely random. They should have cut the scene out. I will say I think Nick Nolte does give a good performance as the father. He does go a bit stir crazy at the end of the film, but then again, Nick Nolte's always kind of been like that. I think Nick Nolte's performance is good, and I do like... I mean, essentially his character is the villain of the story, and you understand his motivations, you really do. Ang Lee does take the time to explain why the father has done what he's done, but the father's, I guess, always been sort of crazy, and he basically exploited his own son, and he killed his son's mother. He killed his own wife to do that out of rage, and yeah, it's really horrible the lengths that man goes to do what he does. I shan't spoil what he actually does, but it is quite dramatic, I'll say so. I think the action sequences are terrible in this film. Ang Lee has proven that he is not a great action director. I don't know why the hell we needed a fight scene with the Hulk fighting French poodles. We have to wait an entire hour before we get the first action scene. 1 whole fucking hour. Honestly, it really pisses me off. The fight scene with the dogs, like, okay, it's so dumb and it's so stupid. Why was it there? It's not particularly choreographed very well. The whole point of it is stupid. It doesn't add anything to the story. Like, his dad just randomly sends the killer dogs to go and kill him. What the fuck? It makes no sense. The other action scenes are terrible. It's the Hulk, man. It doesn't work for the Hulk. There's that massive action scene where he escapes the military base, and that goes on for quite a long time. That's the biggest action scene of the film, which eventually leads him to the big city. But in between that, it takes a while because you've got these massive sections where he's looking at the grass and the sand, and he's just, you know, thinking about his rage and everything that's happened to him, like, while he's the Hulk. It doesn't work. It's trying to be all beautiful and poetic, and it really just doesn't work, because this is a movie about a green guy smashing things. Can we just see the guy smash something, please? When he does actually start smashing something, that's kind of entertaining, and it is entertaining to see him throw the tank and do all of that crazy stuff when he's fighting the military, but other than that, it's such a dull sequence to watch. It takes too long to get to those bits, so by the time you get there, you're just fed up of the movie because it's just so damn boring. Also, more to the point, in this film, it takes 40 minutes before he actually first hulks out, shall we say. 40 minutes until he turns into the Hulk. That is way too long. That is way too long. I'm sorry, that is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous how long it takes to get him to turn into the Hulk. And when he does turn into the Hulk, the first time, you can't really see it, because it's all dark and it's at night and it's in a lab and he's destroying everything. So dull. This movie's such a dull mess. The finale of the film, I think, is terrible because there's no resolution to this film. The resolution, from what I could gather, was that, okay, he basically disowns his dad for killing his mum, and he can't control his anger. Him and his dad have a fight, he eventually kills his dad, and then he goes and hides away in the jungles of God knows where. I also feel what is also unresolved is Betty and her father. They have a phone call at the very end of the film, but it doesn't really do anything to resolve their relationship, because she should be angry with him for what he's done. He's tried to kill the man she loves, and she's talking to him like it's nobody's business, like, oh okay, yeah, we're just in the same old monotone way. Like, come on. There should be more drama surrounding Betty and her father. There really should be. That's where the film fails as well. I think that the film rushed the ending. I think the ending is so goddamn rushed. There's no payoff. Bruce never finds peace or comfort with his condition. He never finds peace or comfort with what happened to his mother. It takes a long time for Bruce to actually remember that his mum died. The fact is, it's kind of stupid that he would remember anyway, because he was 4 years old. He was 4 years old when his mum died. How is he supposed to remember what happened? Seriously, like, what? That's, and you know, don't tell me that's his condition, because that's ridiculous. His condition as the whole, that wouldn't make him remember about his mum's death. That's a load of bollocks. I call bollocks on that. I do like the soundtrack to the film. I think Danny Elfman's theme is quite good, and I do think the score, when it's there, is nice, and it does add some kind of atmosphere. But there are parts of the film where the score is really out of place. Like I said earlier, those moments in the desert when he's just looking at the grass, it's like, what the fuck? There's other moments where the score's vocalised. There are some Indian or Arabic singers doing oh. It doesn't really work for this film. It doesn't make a lot of sense at all. I will say though, I do quite like the title sequence of the film. The when David Bana is doing his experiments, and then he's testing things out, and then we're seeing all the moss and all of those sort of things. It's a very interesting title sequence, I will say that. I also have to call bullshit on the actual scene when he gets exposed to the gamma radiation. I feel the scene when he gets exposed to the gamma radiation is way too short. It's so abrupt. Why does he literally just go and stand in front of the machine? He's literally offering himself to be exposed. Like, it's so dumb. Surely, what should have happened was Bruce should have actually got his friend out of the room. He got his friend out, but then he ends up staying in there, and then he gets exposed. That's what should have happened. Also, I forgot to mention Sam Elliot, who plays Betty's father. He's very wooden in this film. He's very one note. He doesn't emote at all during this film, which is a shame. Terrible acting, terrible visuals, terrible action sequences, good dramatic moments that never have a payoff, poor resolution, good music score, misdirection. Again, I feel really bad for saying that. I feel bad for saying that this film is misguided and misdirected, because Ang Lee is a very talented filmmaker, and I don't want to dismay his name at all, but this is probably his worst movie, or one of his worst films. It's just not... Hulk is not something that should have been an art house movie or anything like that, and Ang Lee was not the person to direct this film. They really should have found someone else who could direct a big budget action movie, but who could also tell the dramatic story. I think if Ang Lee had a co-director, if Ang Lee was directing the film with someone, that might have worked a bit better. So just to finish up, I'm going to give Hulk 2003 a 1 out of 10. There we go, folks, that's my rant on the 2003 Hulk film. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave comments down below, let me know what you think, and stay tuned for more reviews and rants in the future. So until next time, see ya.